Welcome to Global Insights 365, your window to the world's biggest geopolitical shifts. In the 20th century, the Cold War divided the world into East and West. A contest of ideology, capitalism versus communism, defined an era. But in the 21st century, the battle lines have shifted. This time, the conflict is not about ideology, but about influence, resources, and the power to shape the future. On one side, NATO, the most powerful and enduring military alliance in human history. On the other, BRICS, a coalition of rising powers challenging the rules of the old order. Their rivalry is not just about politics, it's about the soul of the world. Chapter 1: Two Worlds, One Planet. The story begins with two visions for the world. NATO, born in the ashes of World War II, sees itself as the guardian of a rules-based international order, forged by the West, for stability and collective defense. BRICS, a younger alliance, sees an unequal world shaped by those same Western rules, and seeks to rewrite them. The clash is not inevitable, but their paths are colliding on the same stage, our planet. Chapter 2: NATO, the Old Guard. In 1949, with Europe still scarred by war, 12 nations signed a treaty in Washington, D.C., pledging that an attack on one would be an attack on all. This was NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Its mission: to deter the Soviet Union, contain communism, and preserve peace through strength. Through the Cold War, NATO stood as the military shield of the West. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, NATO faced a choice: fade into history or expand its reach. It chose expansion. From the Baltic states to the Balkans, NATO grew to 32 members, projecting influence deep into Eastern Europe, to Russia's doorstep. Chapter 3: BRICS, the Rising Powers. In 2009, far from the halls of Brussels, another alliance was born. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, a coalition of emerging economies united by a common goal: to challenge Western economic dominance. Together, they represent over 40% of the world's population, a quarter of global GDP, and control vast reserves of natural resources. In 2024, they expanded, adding nations from the Middle East, Africa, and South America, strengthening their voice in the global South. BRICS is not a military bloc, it's an economic and political counterweight. And it's building institutions to rival the West's, from the new development bank to its push for a currency alternative to the US dollar. Chapter 4: Military Might versus Economic Muscle. NATO commands unmatched military capability, the combined armies, navies, and air forces of the United States, United Kingdom, France, and more. Its members spend over $1 trillion annually on defense, fielding advanced fighter jets, nuclear submarines, and missile defense systems. BRICS, while lacking a unified military command, wields economic leverage, controlling key commodities like oil, gas, rare earth minerals, and agricultural exports. Where NATO builds bases, BRICS builds pipelines. Where NATO sends troops, BRICS sends trade. Chapter 5: Flashpoints and Friction. The rivalry is global, but certain fault lines are dangerously close to erupting. In Ukraine, NATO backs Kyiv against a Russian invasion, the largest European conflict since 1945. In the Taiwan Strait, U.S. warships patrol waters China claims as its own, raising fears of direct confrontation. In Africa and the Middle East, BRICS nations invest heavily in infrastructure and energy, often in regions where NATO has strategic interests. And behind it all, a silent struggle over currency dominance, BRICS pushing to reduce reliance on the US dollar, a move that could shift the balance of global finance. Chapter 6: The Global South Factor. For much of the developing world, the Global South, this is not just a rivalry between giants, it's an opportunity. BRICS positions itself as the voice of nations historically left behind in the Western-led order. From cheap infrastructure loans to technology transfer, it promises partnership, not patronage. NATO, meanwhile, seeks to extend its partnerships beyond its borders, courting nations in Asia, Africa, and the Pacific. The competition for influence here could decide who shapes the 21st century. Chapter 7: The Future, New Cold War or Cooperation. The world stands at a crossroads. One path, a new Cold War, with NATO and BRICS locked in an endless cycle of confrontation. The other, an uneasy cooperation, where power is shared, and the risk of war is contained. Which path we take will depend on decisions made not in decades, but in the coming years. History has shown that empires rise and fall, alliances shift, borders change. But in a world of nuclear weapons, cyber warfare, and climate crisis, miscalculation could mean catastrophe for all. The battle for a new world order is not just about East versus West, or North versus South. It's about whether humanity can share this planet without destroying it. NATO and BRICS may stand on opposite sides of the map, but they stand on the same Earth. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history and geopolitics, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Global Insights 365.